What is going on, guys? Welcome to Radigan's Rockcast. This should be a little bit better, and that's not what the fucking hell. The fucking hell. Alright, don't worry, we're good. Okay. Alright. Good. Okay, let's see. We have too much, a little bit of brightness. Okay, now somebody's watching. I don't know who's watching, but yeah, this is a random live stream for you people. Alright, that's like pretty good. Happy late Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great, happy holiday. I think that, I hope it's working for everybody, Uh, yeah. That's all I hope. I hope for the best. I hope for the best of people. I know it's, early in the morning right now, almost 2 o'clock. As you see that of what the title of this is, I just watched because on Thanksgiving, the first part of the Beatles Get Back documentary was released. And I just wanted to mention a little feedback on that. And really, this is just going to be a little bit of a random kind of live stream, but, that's the main focus. I also want to talk a little bit about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony last week. You know, not too much of, not too much stuff to say of it. I didn't watch so much of it, but it was funny because I was talking to somebody about this. I was helping a friend with a project, and one of the actors in the film was a little bit more of an older guy who worked as a manager of this store, and he was, we ended up talking about rock music and all and stuff, about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all that, and what you call it, he was saying like, could you believe that Jay Z got inducted at the same night Carol King did? And yeah, you know, I have a few kind of thoughts on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and how it's been kind of turning out, and I don't think it's always the best in a sense. I think it's been a little not of course there I think is a lot of issues with how it is now. I think it's no longer really rock in a sense, it's more of, just music, really like, like kind of like more of a ceremony of the newest music artists and the trends, in a sense, because, rock in a sense, I hate to have to say it, is dead mainstream. I mean, it's still, around and there's still people that play it, but mainstream reason there's nothing really, it's been dead for about almost 20 years now in the mainstream set kind of I feel mindset, and I mean like I was even trying to think of, songs, on the radio. None of them really have guitar solos, really there's no really many guitar solos. It's all about vocal, and if there is a solo, it's some kind of rap solo, all that. So it's just, it's not as, I feel like kind of out there and, slamming in your face at times in the sense. And, I think, you know, we're just gonna be seeing more of this of people that are eligible to make it into these types of Hall of Fames. They're just gonna let them in, even if they don't serve a purpose to rock and roll. And listen, I mean, I think, people made a debate that, oh, well, when you say that hip hop generated from rock in a sense, and I think it depends on how you look at it. I think there are some, I think rap in some ways, of course, was inspired by rock, and in some ways as rock was with blues and all that too, it all originated in one area, but and of course rock has a lot of subgenres, but I feel like hip hop is its own genre. So if there should be like a hip hop Hall of Fame, it seems weird to me that Jay-Z is in the same Hall of Fame as somebody as a rock musician like Chuck Berry or Eric Clapton, or somebody as a blues musician like Ken, or even Muddy Waters, and you know, yeah, that's sort of my feelings of that. And it's funny because how we talked, how I talked about it with that guy, how it's like he was like saying, it's like, and can you believe it's in the same night that he was in the same night that Carole King was, this is somebody like Carole King course, was somebody who, you know, is finally being recognized on her own and all that. And it's actually kind of hard to believe that she's just getting inducted now. And and I mean Tina Turner got inducted now. Which long overdue, I think, as well. I mean, the Foo Fighters got in, which I will say, I definitely agree with that choice, in a sense. But yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about Jay Z in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, no discredit to Jay Z. I think Jay Z is a talented rapper, and really, an interesting force in the music industry, and still, of course, dominates. But yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I sometimes feel, it's not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anymore. It is more of like a music Hall of Fame, and that's fine. But I think they should think about, how they're branded themselves now, and how they're if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame title is even a good name for it. I mean, I think personally they want to, induct artists like Jay Z or other artists, as time goes on, because they will be, once they're eligible, they'll be able to, I mean, honestly, the way things are going, Justin Bieber, a musician like Justin Bieber, will probably be in this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of the way it's going, in all that sense. So there has to be a discussion if they want to create like a new music Hall of Fame, or just put something in general, or they're just gonna, not have it as the traditional rock and roll, and just keep it as, the modern music hall of fame. That's what it seems like it's becoming, just modern music hall of fame. And that's all because pop music is shifting. It's like, it is becoming, and all that stuff. So, you have people, who are interested in, you have your pop people, you have your rock people, and you have your hip hop people. Those I feel like are the main genres you see people into. But rock, I think, is a little bit of a smaller margin. It's more either really pop or hip hop and all that. Uh, and yeah, no. So but yeah, that's really what I gotta say on that. Yeah, as you can see, I'm back home for a little bit for a Thanksgiving break, and then I go back to finish my semester. Uh, and it's only gonna be 2 weeks, so I'll be back here, and you'll see me in my man cave again, and all that. So yeah, not too much of a difference that you'll see. But yeah, 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 no, no, no. So I wanted to give my thoughts on the Get Back movie that came out on Disney Plus. I've been waiting for it, of course. Being a diehard Beatles fan, I was really excited when I heard that this project was coming into play in this documentary and all that. I think it's really, it works well. I think it's an interesting one. I mean, of course, I think it was known that there was, a lot of footage when the Beatles, were breaking up, and when they were doing the Let It Be album, they had, of course, the documentary and the camera crew that came in to, watch them during the project, during this project, and kind of documenting what was going on. They realized they needed a change. They realized they needed to do something different because they were just a studio band at this time. They stopped touring in '66. So, they were, debating of like doing a live show, and the documentary focuses on them trying to figure out what the big event is, and if it's going to, and there's talk that they were wanting to do a show in Arabia and all that. But yeah, no, it was an interesting thing. It really, yeah, like an interesting documentary that kind of showed where they were at, and the whole thing is it takes the whole negative spin of how they all hated each other, and made it different, to, that it was, a peaceful, kind of ending. They were still, four guys who liked each other. They were just, moving on with their lives. And of course the movie shows that, and of course it's sad. Nobody likes change, but these guys were growing up, and these guys were moving on and finding different things, but they still cared for each other, and I think that's what this film shows. And the TV documentary showed you just the breakup, the bitterness, and not that there wasn't that, but when you see some of these moments, I mean, I gotta tell you, if you're a Beatles fan or just anybody who's watching this, you'll see that these guys, they don't hate each other when they come to work. They're working with each other. And they're like, it's not like you're just going into work and you have to be with people who you don't like or you have to interact with. You can tell that, even though they're going into work and maybe they're not as close as they used to be, and maybe they're coming in separately into the studio and all that stuff, maybe not going in together and all that stuff. You can tell like the way they joke around and all that stuff. They're still on that friendship level. They still have that camaraderie. And at this point in 1969, I mean, John and Paul already knew each other for 12 years at that point. I mean, the group was already, around for 9 years, as the Beatles, as they've been playing as the Beatles. They played as, of course, the Quarrymen in '57. That's when, met Paul at the famous church performance in July 6th of 1957, and then Paul later joined the group. After shortly after, and then of course George, and then a few years later Ringo joined. And it was interesting how they introduced that with the documentary, just going back to the beginning. A little facts, that were a little like kind of not in the right order and all that. For instance, one was like when they talk about Brian Epstein, they talk about how Ringo joined them, in Liverpool, and then they mentioned Brian Epstein, started to manage them, which it was the other way around. Brian Epstein was their manager for about a year before Ringo joined, because or well, not about a year, but he because Brian Epstein, the anniversary actually just came up or something like that of because it's been now 60 years, uh when I think it was November 9th when Brian Epstein met the Beatles, and he started becoming their manager and taking was their manager. And then Ringo joined in in August of '62, when they were doing, of course, Please Please Me, and I talk about that in my podcast episode and all that too. So I won't go too much into the details of the history of the Beatles. So literally, but this documentary focuses on these recording sessions that were going on, the what the film was capturing, and the film was capturing intimate dialogue between all four of the members, some of what you call it, some of the encounters with their producer George Martin, the director, Michael Lindsay Hoggins, and also too, some of the people that were part of the Beatles entourage, road manager, Mal Evans, another another Beatles entourage, Neil Aspinall, who was more working at Apple at this point. And I think the same with Mal Evans. Mal Evans actually, I think, produced is credited as producer of the Badfinger song "No Matter What," and all that. And yeah, no, so it shows those people who were big involvements in the Beatles career. From I mean, Neil Aspinall and Mal Evans, I think, went back with the Beatles early on. I think they started out as they were like, I think, bouncers for them at the Cavern. I think they started off. I think if I remember correctly, they were recruited by Epstein or something like that. They were part of his team and all that, and then and then of course, yeah. So like George Martin, there's some encounters with him. Of course, we see Yoko, and of course, we see Paul's wife. Well, not wife yet, but Linda. And all that stuff. But no, it works pretty well. A documentary. I think what was so mind-boggling was, seeing, for instance, like, it starts off, the footage starts off with John singing a song called like "I'm Nature's Son" or "Nature's Child," and it's in the tune of "Jealous Guy." It's the exact tune of it, and you could see he changed it up. And of course, "Jealous Guy" was later on the Imagine album, and that's the same with another song, which was interesting because I know that some of the songs that were on their solo albums, what were developed during the Beatles days, but I didn't know like so much. Like for instance, songs on Imagine. Like I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised some of the songs on Imagine were done, or were written, or were thought of even back then. Like for instance, Give Me Some Truth. And there's the line, that it was changed like that in the way they he does John does it with the Beatles. It's, I think, Yellow Gizzard, Gary Cooper, and all that stuff. And in the ver in Imagine, it's No Short, Yellow Belly, Son of Tricky Dicky, and that was because of the whole immigration battle John was having with Nixon, and all that. So but no, uh that's the but, no, it was interesting seeing that. It was interesting, them seeing them do All Things George's All Things Must Pass. And it was like, "Oh, wow." And, they're talking about doing the live show, and they're talking about, performing and of what it would be like. And they go to, of doing a stage show, and they're talking about certain songs that work. And one moment, my head was like, I was like, my jaw went up a little, because when George was talking about a certain song that he liked that they did, and he starts playing Every Little Thing from Beatles for Sale, and I just had released a video of the Beatles for Sale video I did on YouTube, and it's on my podcast as well. Uh, you know, um, and yeah, no, what you call it? When I heard them doing everything little thing, she does, because yeah, no, every little thing. Yeah, every little thing she does for me. Yeah, yeah, no, no. But the thing I found that was so funny was because I mentioned in the Beatles for Sale that it's such an underrated song, and like, not, of course, one of their hits. And it's so interesting that they're playing that song. Just like, not a lot of people would remember that song, and for them to do that. And like other stuff, they were doing, like, playing like version of Give Me Some Truth. There's even a version of Paul doing Another Day, his famous solo song. There's a song that Ringo does, that is credited to him, but I never really heard it before, and I don't know if it was on any of his albums and all that stuff. And it's just credited to Ringo as a songwriter, because Ringo, out of all of them, was not that much of a songwriter. He had some songs that were credited to him. Some songs actually George helped him with. And then there was a one song I found really interesting, where, because they talked about with Get Back, that Get Back was going to be more of a political message with other countries, mentioning what was going on with Saudi Arabia and all that, and just mention other countries in it, and having a little bit more of a political message to it. And then there's this one song where they mention Enoch Powell, who was a politician in England who was very controversial, and all that. And so it's interesting how Paul McCartney's calling to Enoch Powell in it. And just like, a lot of, like, and even the dialogue, you definitely feel like these guys were friends. You definitely see what uh you know what the hype was about it, with Peter Jackson talking about it. Peter Jackson said that he was, when he was looking through this footage, he was wondering, like, when, he was waiting for the, and he noticed there wasn't. And I noticed that there were some moments they showed, like, I think there was some, like, I never saw the Light B film, and honestly, I feel like it is too depressing to see it. And this is a better way to remember the Beatles, ended, in a sense, than like the original Let It Be that was aired back in 1970. But I think that what do you call it? Get Back, just shows more of a friendly kind of approach to it. And I think that you know I think even the title "Get Back" works, because I mean, the album was originally, Paul originally wanted it to be called "Get Back," the album and all that stuff. So I think it just works for what it is and all that. And yeah, no, and we have two more parts left, and we'll see how it turns out. But with Peter Jackson saying that, like, I mean, I think it was interesting that he included some clips from the film, the original, because there were some that I remember seeing before that I know that were already out in the open. You know, I am interested in sort of seeing the special just to see what was already shown or what wasn't, you know, and all that. But yeah, no. I mean, it was done because you know there was over 100 hours of footage, and you know we're only seeing really like 2 hour. We're only really seeing 6 hours of it, and not even really because like half of it's gonna be other clips of like, you know, like the first 20 minutes was, you know, just clips of the Beatles timeline and all that of what led from, you know, 1957 to the moment in 1969. And you know, they talk about some cool moments, you know, about how they're thinking of doing a live show and where they want it to be. You know, debating if they really want to do it live. That's the real debate and the argument, you know, and all that. And yeah, no, and I will say this that if you do not want to get spoiler, there is spoiler on here. So, you know, for before I go any further and say and mention stuff, there is spoilers on this. So, but for instance, you know, there was talk that, you know, I mean, it was well known in that Ringo left the group at one point, you know, during the White Album sessions. And, you know, of course he came back, but during Let It Be, George had a temporary you know, the band, and you know, and you see in the footage him leaving and them talking about you know, maybe replacing with Clapton and all that. And, you know, and part one ends with them trying to get him to come back, you know, and all that. And it says like it did not go well, and you'll see more of what happened. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see what part two and part three is. And yes, I mean it's a little bit too much. Like, you know, like for instance, with them getting a little of the facts wrong, and you know, sometimes putting clips, you know, when they were showing the Beatles timeline, they were showing clips in a certain area in a certain year that didn't work and all that. Then just, you know, like, you know, to make it more of like a Hollywood type of film. And you know, you got to remember, of course, it's Peter Jackson who's doing this, and Peter Jackson is a Hollywood director and all that. So of course, it's going to come a little theatrical and not so much of a real authentic type of piece. That's why I was a little like like, you know, kind of skeptical about how this was going to be. And really I was only or really more interested about it is because I was, you know, believed that we would see, you know, just really mostly footage of that session in 69, which mostly what it is and what you know what that's what we've seen basically. So I don't know like what the second and the third one's going to be. It's going to be another 2 hours, and all that. And I don't know what they're going to do with the other footage and all that stuff, because there will be still be footage that we've probably never seen before. And I don't know if that's like unused footage or like just footage that's not, you know, entertaining really, or like I don't know. Who knows? I mean, there will probably be a way. I mean, diehard Beatles fans, I think, will find a way to, you know, see if they can get this footage, or probably work out a way. I mean, you know, this is gonna, you know, still build up, you know, money in the Beatles empire in a sense. So yeah, you know, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I, you know, just wanted to do this little live. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy late Thanksgiving. Now, happy Black Friday shopping. You know, as you see back here, for a little bit, you know, and all that stuff. But we'll be back, a bit cold Oswego, in, you know, back on Sunday. But you know, nice to be back in this man cave, and see you guys soon. Bye.